Hello, folks. So, in this video, I want to talk about UPI payments and in general about digital payments in India. So, I think in India, there's like a huge population. So, I mean, it's the second most populated place in the world. And a lot of transactions happen, of course. A lot of these people are using money. They're transacting, they're buying things, they're sending money to people and this like that. And I'll take an example of like today I went to a shop. So usually this is a very small shop, and usually it's very crowded. And what happened was like, so usually there's like a lot of line and queue for even to get a bill, and then you have to stand in a queue for paying also. So what happens is you get the bill and then you go stand in the queue and then you pay cash, and then you get some change and things like that, and then they stamp it and say that it's paid, stamp in the bill. And today what happened was a bit interesting. I mean, this was the first time that I had experienced it in this shop. In other shops, of course, I've experienced it. So in this shop, what happened was like I didn't have to stand in the queue for the bill, like paying for the bill. Instead, the person who actually put the bill for me, they just said, "Is it? Are you going to pay using UPI or Paytm and things like that?" And I said yes, and then I used my phone pay app, and I opened it up and I scanned the QR code that the person showed, and I put in the money, and that's it. It was hassle free. I just had to just pay in a few seconds, and they just stamped and gave me the thing. So this was a shop where I used to pay using UPI, yes, but I used to still stand in line. But this time I don't. I'm not having to stand in line, and like I just have to just pay, and like they're doing things immediately. And in other shops, I don't even have to have like a bill or whatever. They just say this is the cost, and then I just pay, and that's it. And there's no hassle of getting change and things like that. So I think the best part about UPI and digital payments is that like it's pretty fast, it's pretty simple. Of course, it requires internet and a bank account and things like that. Not everyone would have an internet or a smartphone and things like that. That's why the National Payments Corporation of India has brought in UPI 123 Pay to actually use UPI in feature phones by doing missed call, IVR, interactive voice response, basically talk through the automatic voice response in a call, and then also do sound-based stuff, things like that. And then also apps on feature phones. So some feature phones can actually support apps. I mean, basic apps, like you would see games on feature phones, some basic games. Similarly, you could actually have a UPI app, but of course, it has to be built. Um, but yeah, the best part is like it's pretty hassle free, like digital payments, especially UPI, and like even a credit card, debit card, and all that, right? Why is it hassle free in a place, especially like India? I would say is that I mean, hassle free, assuming that the merchant or the person who is providing the service supports it, like accepts UPI, accepts card, or things like that. Or if they only accept cash, then it's like no, it's not going to work because if you want to do digital payments, they have to support it. And I think today, in the present time, like I think a lot of shops are actually supporting cards, of course, debit cards, credit cards, and of course are also supporting UPI, or they use their personal mobile phones and personal UPI and then use that money to actually put it back into the business. And then they set up business accounts at some point. And of course, the others are still, doing cash. And of course, like I think a lot of people, yes, they still use cash. This is about like both consumers and the merchants and like people who provide services, right? But the thing is, why is digital payment good, or like why is it hassle free? Let me come to that. Like, so I mean, previously when I used to use cash, right, I need to have the cash first of all, for which I used to go to the ATM. And I mean, I can't always have cash, right? I mean, I'm not going to stock up cash in my house, like a lot of cash. I'm going to have most of the cash in my bank account, at least in my case. Not everyone works like that. I think many people get paid in cash for their labor, physical labor, or any labor, and then they use that cash to buy things. But in my case, I get paid in my bank account, fortunately, and I have to get the money. from the account, either through ATM, for which I have to go out and go to the ATM machine, or I mean, go to the bank and then withdraw money by actually putting a thing, so draft and all that. Like write it down and say I want to withdraw cash and things like that. Right? So the thing is, this is a bit of a hassle. Every time I need cash, I have to go to the ATM, and ATMs near my house, a lot of times they don't have cash or the ATM doesn't work. Or the worst part is if I have the ATM card of Bank A and then I go to Bank B's ATM, after some few times of usage, I would be charged for using the card because I have only so much free usage of cards. It's not unlimited. Like some people do have unlimited. It depends on like the kind of bank account, savings account they have, like, or salary account or whatever account they have. But there is a charge that you have to pay if you go to a different bank's ATM and then transact there multiple times in a month. At some point, they're gonna actually get money in case your savings bank account is a very simple account. So all of this is there when you actually start using things like cash, wherein you have to get the cash and you need to have change. Once you get the cash, that's just this first thing, right? Next, you need to keep the cash in a purse, and it can be tricky. I mean, people steal nowadays. Like you go in a bus, let's say, or you're walking around and things like that. Pickpocket is a very common thing. Petty thieves actually they do pickpocket. I've heard people losing their mobile phones in the bus, iPhones, where their iPhone was picked up, pickpocketed from their pocket, and they didn't even know. It took a few minutes for them to realize that their phone was missing. Similarly, a wallet can be gone, like, and they'll steal the money from it, and of course, other things like any cards and anything valuable that you have, say your driving license or your PAN card, your Aadhaar card, whatever you have, right? But your money is also there, and it's gonna be like taken out. If you're someone who uses cash a lot and who transacts in cash a lot, you would have a lot of cash, of course. Like unless if you're doing more of digital transactions, then you might not have much cash. You might not, in which case you lose less. And once you start transacting in cash, you need to have enough change. Like depending on the kind of thing that you're buying, if it's a very costly thing, good. And if you have that enough money, like say denominations of 500, 200, 100,000, and things like that, all good. And 20s and 10s. But if you are buying something cheap, like in like within 100, and you don't have the change, 10s, 20s, 50s, all the changes, coins, and all 5 rupees and all that, then it's going to get tricky. Like the person providing the service may not have the change that you want. So let's say you go to a shop. Like in my case, I've gone to shops and like bought things and then got paid in chocolates. Like I used to get, say, if it's 1 rupee change, I have to get back. They give me a chocolate. The tricky thing is that I don't eat chocolates and it's of no use for me. But I am forced to actually buy something um, that I don't need, but in the name of like change, like or like basically coins that I have to get back. So this is, I mean, you can fight back and say, hey, give me the money, but sometimes they may not have it, and in such cases, you have to actually just either write down and say that, hey, you owe me this much, and that's what actually the money is means. But then you write it in a paper, or you just get this some item for that cost, like say for 1 or 2 rupees or 4 rupees or whatever it is. And the funny thing is, for businesses, this is a profit when they give out chocolates because a lot of things that they buy, they also get as discounts or offers. So let's say they actually get the chocolate for say 20 paise, but they give it to me as 1 rupee. So it's 80 paise profit for them. Of course, 80 paise is not a lot, but then when they start doing this more and more and more, or when they get chocolates for free and then they just give it to people for like this as a form of money, it's going to be profitable for them, and the consumer who is actually getting this chocolate or whatever item, if they don't need it, it's going to be a loss. And the next thing is you need change, yeah. And you also transact in, let's say, some companies and some places they do have things like say 50 paise, 75 paise, 25 paise for some reason. For example, medicine shops do have it, but usually they do round up usually instead of rounding down. And in digital payments, you can give the exact cost, exact money. So with all this change and all that stuff, you can actually exactly pay the person. And also, when you pay the person or when you get the change back, let's say you pay 100 rupees and they pay you back 10 bucks for change. Like you have to pay 90 and you give 100 bucks and you get 10. The 10 rupees note is torn. Now you have to fight back and say, hey, can you give me a newer note or a different note? Things like that. And if they don't have it, you have to just deal with it. You just have to take it up. And no one else takes that 10 rupees, then you just have to just probably go to the bank and change it or something where they do take such notes. And if it's very damaged, they might not even take it. So in digital, there's no such hassle. Like you can give the exact money and you don't need to get any change back. And the craziest part is you don't have to worry about, let's say you get 500 bucks from someone. Some people do worry that is this note actually a new like a real note, or is it fake or duplicate, something like that, right? They look at the note, they look at through light and things like that. They check if it's new and if it's a real one, if it's damaged and things like that. And when you also get change, or when you get money from the ATM, or when you give money to someone, they are also going to check and be like, hey, this doesn't look real or something like that. All these problems won't be there when you do digital payments. You can actually just pay the person and then there's no problem of cash, right? There's no problem of change, there's no problem of like thinking is it real or fake money and things like that. Of course, this comes with its own pros and cons. For example, one con is that the merchant has to support this. They have to understand UPI. They have to understand cards. I think UPI is pretty cool. It's all free now, so they don't incur usually any charges. They can just get money from consumers, and even if they incur charges, it won't be so much compared to actually having a machine for credit card and swiping and like internet and everything. I think this is pretty straightforward. And the best part is they get the money directly in the bank account and everything. And like it's pretty instant. You know the instant thing, like this is the payment and this person made it and everything. And you also get the mobile number or some detail of the payment and everything. And the other part about digital payment is that if you are someone who actually respects the tax in the country, in paying tax and everything, if you are paying in digital, you won't have to worry much about taxes, as in like your merchant who's providing the service most probably will have to pay the tax, because when you pay digitally, it goes to their bank account, and when there's a bank account involved, there is some track record, and there is a PAN number involved, there is Aadhaar card and something involved there. So there will be PAN number, and somewhere it will get tracked. So if the income tax department wants to actually look into it, they can usually look into it, somehow track it back and like look at the bank account if it's a digital payment. But if you pay in cash, there's no digital record, and cash is how people deal with black money and things like that usually. And they can just you pay cash. Of course, you would have paid tax, but your merchant who is providing service doesn't have to pay tax if they actually hide that money and like just keep it up in their house or whatever, and not put it in the bank or whatever, right? Bank account. So those are some pretty cool things about digital payments. Like you don't have to worry about many things, and the tax is also taken care of, and like there's no problem of fake money and things like that, no problem of change and things like that, right? So I think UPI is a pretty cool thing, and any digital payment for that matter is pretty cool. And of course, like I did talk about the cons, like like sometimes the merchant may not be providing the service, and you just have to just pay cash. And the other thing is that with UPI, I've also noticed this other con where you can't send more than 50,000 or something. Like there's a limit, upper limit per day basis, depending on the bank you use. So that's something to check out. This is similar to how there is upper limit for things like IMPS, NEFT, RTGS, and all that. I think for IMPS it's 2 lakhs or something per day, and for UPI it's kind of like say around 50,000, or depending on the kind of bank account and bank you transact with. So I have actually hit that limit and seen that it doesn't work. Sorry. So I've sent 50,000 and then noticed that after that I can't, and then I have to use another account with a different UPI ID and like another account and then use 50K from that another bank account. So usually one bank account per day, it's usually 50K or something like that, or 10K depending on the bank. I don't know what different banks do, but there's a limit. So similar to other transactions, there is a limit on this. And of course, like I know people who use UPI only for like very small payments. I have used it for larger payments. The other cons about UPI in general, I would say, is that sometimes I've noticed that bank servers have issues, but that's pretty usual these days. This happens even with, say, I think cards. Everywhere there is internet and there is a server involved. And in case of UPI, also there's a server involved. And if your bank server, the receiving bank server or the sender bank server is not working properly or it's down, then the UPI may not work. The service may not work. This is usually pretty clear before you even start the transaction. I've noticed in some cases where it says the bank server is down, so you don't have to actually you can't do the transaction itself. It won't even let you start. And the other con I've noticed is that this has happened twice for me. I transact in UPI and then it doesn't show me the status immediately. It just stays in pending for a lot of time. And then I end up paying in cash alternatively. And then I notice after a lot of time that it says it's not pending, it's successful. So the money is sent. So now I have double paid. So I have to go back to the merchant and then just say, hey, I paid in cash and I also paid in digital. See this, and then get back the money. This has happened like twice for me, the pending. But the first one, I think it failed. So it was all good. So there was no money debited from my account. But the best part about payments is that anytime your money is debited twice or there's double payments and things like that, you can actually raise a dispute to your bank. I think the number of such occurrences would be very less because UPI is getting better every day and the servers, bank servers, and everything is getting better. And such instances of issues with UPI or payments in general, like digital payments in general, is getting better. And any refunds, any problems, all of them are taken care really fast generally. And you ideally wouldn't have to worry about it, but of course, keep an eye in case you see that your money has gone, but it has to come back actually because it hasn't gone to the merchant. Then ensure that it comes back in a few days, like say a week or something like that, 2 weeks. But then, yeah, of course, reach to the bank, raise a dispute, and things like that in case you have issues. But other than that, I think UPI is pretty cool, and like any digital payment for that matter. That is like there are so many new things nowadays. Like there is, of course, there's debit card, credit card. There's also tapping on the debit card, and nowadays, and then there's also e-rupee, which I'll talk about probably in a different video. I haven't seen it in action, but it's pretty interesting. And then, well, the NPCI is bringing up, I mean, has already so many things, and which I've only noticed recently, and like the e-rupee, for example, and I think it's pretty awesome. So I'll be seeing in another video, and I'll be talking about different such payment, payment modes, payment methods, what are the new technologies, what are the cool things that are happening in the payment space or generally. And yep, that's it. If you like the video, like, bye bye.